K.I. was one of the most feared shooters in the history of Chicago. The crazy part is, she was just a teenage girl. Here's the wild story of K.I., the female assassin of O Block. K.I. started out as just your average girl, but growing up in a wild city like Chicago, K.I. slowly adapted to her environment. She was exposed to death and violence at a young age after her father was killed when she was only a year old. Those close to her would say that losing her father made her more protective of the people around her. She would also later witness her older brother get killed right in front of her, which would have a serious impact on her growing up. Eventually, she moved to the area around 63rd and St. Lawrence. There, she became good friends with some of the GDs that live in that area and formed a close relationship with Tuka from the STL EBT set of the Gangsta Disciples. In January 2011, Tuka was standing at a bus stop when a dark-colored vehicle pulled up and started letting off shots. He was hit several times and passed away at just 15 years old. It's been rumored that Tuka's death was retaliation for the death of a Black Disciples member named Edric Ty Walker, who was killed back in 2009. Tuka was a well-loved and respected member of the STL EBT. So after he died, they renamed the area around 63rd and St. Lawrence to Tukaville in his honor. Tuka would go on to become world famous after he was dissed by BD rappers like Chief Keef and King Von. With the popularity of drill music, Tuka became one of the most disrespected men in the history of hip-hop, even though he didn't even rap. The disrespect only fueled the already violent beef between the GDs from O Block, then called Wick City, and the GDs from St. Lawrence. Tuka's death had a major impact on K.I. She was only about 14 at the time, but had already lost so many people close to her due to gun violence, so she started to go down the wrong path to seek revenge. About 8 months after Tuka's death, K.I. would get her revenge. In August 2011, a high-ranking member of the BDs named Odie Perry was shot on the 400 block of East 64th Street. After Odie was killed, the BDs in Wick City would rename their hood to O Block in his honor. It's been rumored that K.I. was the one who killed Odie in retaliation for the murder of Tuka. Allegedly, she and her twin brother, FBG Butter, were out on Tuka's birthday looking for ops when they came across OE riding his bike and shot at him. According to rumors, it was K.I. who fired the kill shot. The murder of Odie Perry gained K.I. a lot of street cred in Chicago. At first, it was hard for the BDs to believe that one of their top-ranking members was taken down by a teenage girl, but as K.I. continued to build a name in the streets, they were forced to accept what happened. After killing OD, K.I. got even deeper into the street life. She became known for shooting at ops, which included members of 600 and O Block. So, even though she was a female, she was becoming a problem to the BDs and was one of their biggest ops. It seemed like K.I. got addicted to the lifestyle and would shoot at anyone who threatened her, including other females. It's been rumored that K.I. one shot at another girl who was the cousin of T-Roy, another high-ranking member of O Block. His cousin ended up snitching on her, but K.I. still beat the case due to lack of evidence and remained on the streets. Plus, she was also known to taunt her ops on social media, often taking shots at dead members of O Block and 600, like OD and Baldy. This would lead to beef online with high-ranking BDs, such as King Von. Von and K.I. were known to taunt each other on social media, all while pretending to flirt. Even though they were enemies, they had mutual respect for each other as fellow savages. Von even once claimed on an A&E documentary about K.I. that he had a crush on her back in the day. But many believe that he was trolling and using mental tactics to gain the upper hand. Even though they both respected each other as shooters, they were still ops, and if either one of them got caught lacking in public, all bets were off. As time went on, K.I. would continue to build a name in the streets. At one point, members of a set called 800, who were beefing with Tukaville, caught K.I. alone and beat her up. In response, K.I. went to their block and shot at several 800 members. Then, a week later, FBG Zuck's house was shot up by 800, which added fire to the beef between the two sets. Then, on June 24th, 2012, a 13-year-old from the Jarrell City neighborhood named Taekwon Tyler was killed. Taekwon was at a house party with his sister when a gunfight broke out and shots went off. He ended up getting hit with a stray bullet and passed away. A dude affiliated with Jarrell City named Nishan Flowers was later arrested for the murder and sentenced to 55 years in prison. Taekwon was K.I.'s cousin, and she was at the party to witness him get killed. It's been rumored that K.I. was the one who introduced him to the street life and trained him on how to rob and do drills. His death hit her hard, and she would change her name on Twitter to Taekwon Assassin. She would also help form a set called Taekwon World, who would be for O Block, 600 World, who would be for O Block, 600, and 800. So, K.I. now had an army behind her to help her take on her ops, and she continued building her rep in the streets. By this point, she was a fierce shooter who was well known by both the ops and the police. At one point, the local news even claimed that she was responsible for killing at least 20 people, a number which isn't confirmed and likely exaggerated, but it shows how well known she was in the city. But somehow, despite this wild reputation, she was never caught by police. None of the bodies she's rumored to have were ever confirmed because the police weren't able to collect enough evidence to bring a conviction. On March 2014, a 19-year-old member of STL EBT, who went by the name Lil B, was killed by police after allegedly pointing a gun at them while he was being chased. K.I. was also close to Lil B, who was killed on the same street as Taekwon. His death turned her heart even colder, and she would change her Twitter name from Taekwon Assassin to No Surrender Lil B. In the weeks following Lil B's death, K.I. would go on Twitter to vent her feelings and reflect on some of the pain that led her down the path she was on. She would tweet, "Money coming, money going, it ain't like you can take it with you. In the end, we die. And I didn't see too many of my in a casket." So it seemed like K.I. was in a pretty dark place, and all the pain of losing her friends and family members in the streets is what turned her into such a savage killer. After Lil B's murder, K.I. hit the streets to take her pain out on the first op she could come across. That ended up being a dude named Blood Money from the BD set Front Street, the cousin of Chief Keef. Blood Money was standing outside his home on the 5600 block of South Elizabeth Street when he was shot in the chest. His cousin, Darnell Patton, was also shot in the stomach, but later pulled through. Blood Money was just 30 years old and the father of 5 children. Just 2 weeks before he was killed, he had signed a deal with Interscope Records, so his death was a major loss to O-Block. Rumors quickly started going around that K.I. was the one responsible for Blood Money's death. Even though she was already hated by the BDs, this murder put an even bigger target on her head. Less than 24 hours later, K.I. would be shot and killed in the Woodlawn neighborhood. Around 3:30 p.m. on April 11, 2014, K.I., along with FBG Butter and another friend, were walking to the house of FBG Wooski to get lunch. K.I. had recently revealed her location on Twitter, which must have been seen by her ops. While they were walking, a shooter in a gray hoodie approached them and started letting off shots before hopping into a getaway car. All 3 were hit, and K.I. ended up getting shot 9 times in the jaw, neck, and chest. She was rushed to the hospital, but pronounced dead around 5:43 p.m. The murder of K.I. remained unsolved for many years, but the word on the street was that it was done by O-Block members T-Roy, Big A, and even King Von. The day after K.I. was killed, a bunch of dudes from FBG, including Lil J, FBG Butter, and Wooski, shot up O-Block. Both Big A and T-Roy would later be killed by members of the GDs in retaliation for K.I.'s death. But for years, King Von managed to escape both the ops and the police. But Von would end up being killed in unrelated beef after bumping into Quando Rondo in November 2020. After his death, police would reveal that Von was the primary suspect in the murder of K.I. In July 2021, a police report about K.I.'s murder leaked to the internet, which listed Davon Bennett, aka King Von, as the primary offender believed to be responsible for the murder of Jakira Barnes. According to the paperwork, Von was brought in for questioning, but later released. He provided 2 different alibis for the night of the shooting, but neither confirmed where he was exactly when the shooting happened. He also agreed to take a polygraph test, but never actually went through with it. Despite the cops' suspicions, the DA refused to prosecute, and the case was never officially solved. So it seems like someone leaked the paperwork to confirm the rumors that Von was the one who took out the notorious K.I. Sadly, the story of K.I. isn't all that uncommon, except for the fact that she was a girl. Plenty of teenagers growing up in a city like Chicago turn to the streets after witnessing people close to them get killed. The only thing unique about K.I.'s situation was that she started out as an innocent teenage girl, but quickly transformed into a ruthless shooter. Police believe that she was involved in dozens of shootings and several murders, even though she was only 17 when she died. But like many kids from the South Side, K.I. was forced to adapt to her environment and unfortunately never got a chance to make it out of the streets.